Okay, today we have a very difficult topic. We have a new tense, present perfect, and an old tense, past simple. But this tense is probably the hardest tense in English. It's very difficult for teachers to explain this tense, to explain how this tense works, to explain when we use this tense. Okay, so it's not easy. And I want to start with past simple. I want you to know that we use present simple, present continuous and past simple much more often than present perfect. So if you use present perfect all the time, it will sound strange. It will sound weird. You only need present perfect a few times. You need past simple much more often. Okay, we use past simple more often than present perfect, and we use present simple and present continuous more often than present perfect. Okay, now we make present perfect by learning three forms of the verb. Every verb has three forms. Now sometimes if it's a regular verb, the second form, which is past simple, and the third form, which is present perfect when you add the had or the have or the has. These are the three forms of a regular verb, and so with a regular verb, the second form, past simple, and the third form, present perfect, are the same. They look the same. The only difference is that past simple doesn't use have or has. It doesn't use them. Okay, so regular verbs, the second form and the third form are the same. But irregular verbs like be, was, were, been. Or like know, knew, known. Or like break, broke, broken. Or like buy, bought. So sometimes irregular verbs are the same in the second form and the third form. Sometimes they're not. Okay, and so you have to learn these three forms of the verb, and I will attach a list to this class or to somewhere on this course. I'll attach a list of irregular verbs that you must learn for past simple and for present perfect. Okay, so how do we use these tenses? Well, actually, let me tell you what they look like first. I, we, you, they have stayed. Yeah, so we always need this word have or has for he, she and it. You must include it for present perfect. We often shorten it to, so we shorten I have stayed to I've stayed. Yeah, I've stayed. We shorten present perfect. Very often we say I've and not I have. I've stayed, or I've known, or I haven't stayed. Yeah, in negative you need to use haven't and hasn't. He hasn't broken the vase. We haven't stayed on a campsite. Yeah, something like that. Have you stayed on a campsite? Has he broken your new vase? Yeah, and so this is how you make questions with present perfect. This is how you make negatives. This is how you make positive sentences. And yes, we do often shorten I've, we've, you've, they've, he's, she's, it's broken. Yeah, and so we often shorten present perfect. It's important. Okay, you already know how to form past simple. You use the second form for past simple. I knew, I broke, and not I have known, I have broken, which is present perfect. Okay, so when do we use these two tenses? Well, present perfect, we don't know when. Yeah, or it's not important. Sometimes we know, but it's not important. So we must use present perfect. We use past simple if we know, or especially if we say when. Because the signal words for past simple tell you when. In fact, when is a signal word for past simple. So is in January. Yeah, we use in plus month. So is on Monday. Yeah, we use on June the 1st, on Monday. At 3:30 is a signal because we know when. 3 weeks ago. Ago is a signal because we know when. So please remember that if you know when, if you say when, You must use past simple. You can't use present perfect, okay? That's the most important difference. It's the biggest difference. That we use different signal words for present perfect, and the signal words for present perfect don't tell you when, they very often tell you how long, or they refer to a period of time which started in the past and is still continuing now, so it's an unfinished period. Yeah, if I were going to explain these three tenses, I would say it with just two words, yeah, or a few words, I would say past simple, finished verbs, finished actions. Past continuous, unfinished verbs. Yeah, I was driving, I was in the middle of driving, it wasn't finished. Unfinished verbs, unfinished actions, past continuous. I was driving, I was eating, I was sleeping when something happened. Present perfect, I would say it's not an unfinished verb, it's not an unfinished action, because that's past continuous. It's an unfinished period of time, okay? Unfinished period of time is present perfect. And that's why, if we know how long, and this is a period of time which is unfinished, yeah, it's 3 years until now, which means those 3 years are unfinished, we must use present perfect. So let's have some examples, because we often use present perfect at the start of a conversation. You say something like this: have you bought anything on the internet recently? Recently is a signal word for present perfect. It's often present perfect. Have you bought anything on the internet recently? Now, I know that you